Hi, and welcome everyone to wholesoulschool and Foundation's second Fireside Chats for the month of May 2019. My name is Marie Mohler, and I am an author, intuitive, and co-founder of wholesoulschool and Foundation. I am here with my co-host, Lacy Frazer, who is a clinical psychologist by training and a practicing life and leadership coach and consultant today. Lacy is also a co-founder of wholesoulschool and Foundation. Welcome, Lacy.
Hi, Marie.
During the month of May, we have been discussing energy and the law of attraction. And thus far, we have established that number one, everything is made up of energy. Number two, energy is electromagnetic in nature. Number three, human beings have measurable energy running through them all the time. 4, human beings are electromagnetic. And the most important piece of this is that our thoughts are energetic and vibrate a certain frequency. That frequency is magnetic and is attracting people and experiences that are a vibrational match to it. So today, we will be discussing the film, The Secret, produced by Rhonda Byrne. The Secret is the first film on this subject matter that fully engaged and reached large numbers of people. It spotlights the law of attraction. So Lacy, do you want to lead us into our discussion today about this film?
Oh, Marie, you know I do. This film is very near and dear to my heart. Not because it's the greatest film in the world, but more because it came into our lives really at a perfect time to help us move through one of our most challenging times. And I know we'll probably touch on that a little bit later, so
Yes.
I won't get into that now. But what I'd like to start off by saying is that, the law of attraction is actually one of 12 core universal laws. And other than the laws of cause and effect, it may be the most well-known and well-practiced universal law. And frankly, I believe it was this film that really introduced the law of attraction to the minds and hearts of people around the world. And while it doesn't explore the more complex nature of how the law of attraction works as far as the relationship to quantum physics, it is a great primer video for people beginning to open to these larger concepts and the possibility that we can attract and we can create a better life for ourselves.
Yes, it is a great first look at a scientifically proven universal law, and one that I believe has far-reaching implications. So let's talk a little bit about the film itself. The film was produced by a woman named Rhonda Byrne. She is also the narrator of the film, which really serves as a docudrama about her own discovery of the law of attraction in her life. In the beginning of the film, she states, "My greatest despair was to become my greatest gift," a lesson that many people are here to learn.
That's so
it's
true.
so powerful.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And so she opens the film describing a time in her life when she hit rock bottom in the latter part of 2004, following a series of traumatic events in her personal and professional life. She discovered the secret of the law of attraction after reading The Science of Getting Rich, which is a book that was written in 1910.
And that tells you how long this has been around.
Well, and it goes back centuries. But
Right.
even just to look back at 1910, it's been around for a while, and most people don't know about it, really. So at the time when she was reading that book, The Science of Getting Rich, she did a lot of research and found references to the law of attraction through centuries, incorporating all religions and human experiences throughout history. Her life was transformed as she began to put into practice all that she was learning and developed a deep yearning to share this knowledge with the world. So she wrote a book about it and released this film in 2006. And of course, Lacy, as the universe would have it, this was when we needed the information in this film the most, having hit our own proverbial rock bottom. right?
Yeah, I remember being in a place in our life where we just didn't know where to turn for answers to the challenges we were facing at the time. And somehow we found our way to this film, which could not have been more perfect. And of course, it wasn't really that we found our way to this film. It was that we really attracted this film, right, into our life.
Right.
And its lessons really helped empower you and I move through that crucial time of healing. And I just feel so grateful for it. So with respect to an overview of the film, let's just talk about a couple key points about the film itself. It combines a lot of dramatic reenactments, the commentaries from a variety of teachers, speakers, and world leaders in multiple fields of study, along with Rhonda Byrne, who does a lot of the narration. And all of these combined basically illustrate the formula for the law of attraction and how it works. Some of the more prominent speakers in the film include Bob Proctor, who did a lot of work in the area of mind potential and wrote You Were Born Rich. Jack Canfield, who I'm sure many people are familiar with, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, or co-wrote actually, that Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Joe Vitale, who was homeless for 20 years before he became an author of numerous books on success and abundance. Neil Donald Walsh, also a well-known author and speaker, and is probably most famous for his Conversations with God series. Michael Beckwith, who is the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center out in California. And John Hagelin, who is a quantum physicist and author. And of course, I've just named a few of the people in the film. But these are, I would encourage our listeners to look up some of these people because they have just so much wisdom and a lot of works under their belt to explain.
They're very inspiring to listen to because
they
get you in the frequency of what this is all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And really the main premise of this film is to illustrate what the universal law of attraction is, the basics about how it works, and really how it can change your life.
Yes, definitely, Lace. And I have to say that there are many wonderful gems and nuggets of wisdom that they share in this film, which are all designed to illustrate one concept.
Yep.
We are energy. Everything is energy. Energy is magnetic. And so the energy we are putting out is attracting or pulling to us that which is like itself. So essentially, Lacy, right, we are living magnets of the universe.
Yes.
We are transmission towers transmitting frequency all day, every day. There is no off button. And I believe that there is an activation point in our consciousness where we each, at some point in our life, journey and we become aware that we are this living energy and that we are magnetizing and creating everything in our lives. We realize that the thoughts we are thinking have power. They have a frequency and they are magnetic.
Yeah, Marie, I mean, I just, anybody who has heard me speak on this topic knows how passionate I am about it because I do think it is like the most powerful and profound piece of wisdom that we could ever understand about ourselves. Because really it's about creating our own reality, that we are in charge of that. So, I just want to take a minute. And I know I've said this before. I think I talked about it on our first Fireside Chat. And I think I talked about it with John Millicitz on the Transformation Talk podcast. But we have 60,000 thoughts a day. And all of these thoughts have a positive or a negative charge, right? And they're pulling the people and experiences into our lives that match the energy we are putting out.
Yes.
So why aren't we paying very close attention to what we are thinking about every minute of every day?
I know it.
Right?
I know it.
And clearly the biggest implication here, and this can be sometimes a hard pill to swallow, but the implication is that we are completely responsible for creating our external reality, right? We are attracting what happens in our lives. And, human beings in general are conditioned to more often than not feel like a victim of life circumstances. And
Well, we celebrate when things go well for ourselves, but we don't want to think about when things aren't working out so well, or we are challenged in some way.
right. And we're very quick to blame other people
that external,
and other circumstances.
Right. But when you start to understand the law of attraction, you start to begin to tune into these other universal laws as well, we start to realize we really are the magnet and the creator and the author of the lives that we're experiencing. And I'm just appreciative for films like The Secret that we're talking about today, and conversations like these, that at least plant the seed in some of our consciousnesses that another way is possible. So
yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to reiterate that I think it's important. Sometimes I find it's really hard for people to hear, that they could be attracting these things in their life. And I think that we're conditioned to believe that, things happen to us and that we're often the victim. And somehow I think that thinking that we're a victim of life feels better than thinking we might be responsible for our life circumstances.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a deep thought. But that's really what the law of attraction is teaching us.
Yes. And I would say, but by the same token, Lacy, and what the film shows us is that we also can use this law then to create a different reality for ourselves.
Yes.
And we often are the victim of the laws, if you want to put it that way, until we realize that we're the conscious creator of our lives and can work with the laws to create a different experience.
Yes.
And this is very empowering. We can take our power back and stop feeling like a victim of circumstance when we can start to understand energy and how our thoughts are contributing to the electrical and magnetic nature of our own energy field.
Yes, yes, yes. So, I always find it interesting to teach people practical. What do we do with this information? What are some practical applications for that we could talk about with our listeners? And I can tell you the number one thing I think about, or that I teach when it comes to this, is something I call thought monitoring. We have got to begin to train ourselves to pay attention to what we are thinking about. And not only what we are thinking about, but how are we thinking about it? How are we thinking about it? I'm reminded that there's so many good sound bites and quotes in this film, The Secret. And there are so many that relate to the power of our thoughts. And I just wanted to read a couple through. I scribbled a couple down here.
Yes.
But where our thoughts go, energy flows. And I remember in our desperate time, in our rock bottom, I would remember these phrases. They became like mantras to me.
Yeah, I remember them the same.
Yep, and I encourage our listeners to sort of adopt some of these things as a mantra to remind you in every moment how important the nature and quality of your thoughts are.
Yeah.
So where our thoughts go, energy flows. We attract what we think about the most. What we think about, we bring about.
That's one of my favorites.
Your life is a physical manifestation of the thoughts in your head. And these are just to name a few. I mean, there are just hundreds throughout this film. So I would encourage people to start paying attention to who they're hanging out with. What are they talking about? And where are they focusing their energy and their attention? Are my thoughts predominantly positive or negative? I mean, these are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. It's a lot of self-analysis, but it will pay out in the end because it's going to contribute to our ability to shift the quality of the energy that we're putting out, because that's the whole point. I want to put out positive energy because I want positive life experiences to come back in, right?
Yes. And I would say, I just wanted to add to when you were saying, are my thoughts predominantly positive or are they negative? I just wanted to mention briefly that there was a teacher named Meg Benedicte, and she would, in some of the classes I've taken with her in the past, she asked this very simple question: does this thought or activity or person, you can fill in the blank, does it increase my vibration? Does it raise my vibration? Do I feel more joy when I'm experiencing that or thinking that thought? Or does it decrease my vibration? Does it make me feel lower or sadder or more challenged in some way? And so she was just saying the same thing a slightly different way, but it made a big impact on me.
Yeah, absolutely. Another component, it isn't just thoughts that contribute to our energy field. It's one of the other things we have to pay attention to is the connection between our thoughts and emotion. And I've talked in the past about how emotion, motion, is energy in motion. So when we have a thought, it usually is connected to or triggers a feeling or emotion. And the power of that thought gets amplified through the electromagnetic properties within the body. And it is this energy that you're sending out into the universe, which of course is magnetic, right?
Yeah.
And it's attracting the people and circumstances that are an energetic match to what we're putting out. So it's also important not just to pay attention to our thoughts, but it's also super important to pay attention to the emotion that we're experiencing,
Right.
that those thoughts are eliciting in us, because that emotion is energy in motion, and that emotion gets amplified within our bodies, and it goes out into the universe, and it's very powerful stuff, very strong.
So if we want to manifest something quicker, all we have to do is emote and feel more about that thought, and we're going to amplify the experience and the attraction factor.
Right.
Which is a big idea, I know, for people listening to this right now. But, if you take a thought and you don't have very much emotion about it, it doesn't manifest as quickly. But if a lot of us, if we're going through something, we might have a lot of anger. We might have a lot of resentment. When we put feeling behind it, we're just putting our foot on the gas pedal.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We really are. Yeah.
Like when you say that, I think putting, your foot on the gas and bringing to you,
in an accelerated fashion.
In an accelerated fashion, what you
Yes.
what's a match to that. And in the course of, in the with respect to anger, we don't want to be manifesting things that create more anger, trigger more anger.
But the opposite is true if we understand that we are energetically creating our own reality through our thoughts and through this magnetism, right?
Right.
That if we want good things to come into our life, we want these positive things and these dreams or these desires that all of us have, then you can accelerate those feelings and experiences coming into your experience by adding the positive energy. And the positive appreciation and the joy of what those things are to you, really feeling that can bring them to you quicker.
Yes, absolutely. I think we'll be talking about that in a little bit too.
Okay.
So, once we get really good, Marie, at monitoring our thoughts and our related emotions, we can then shift what we're thinking about and really understand where we're putting our energy, which will ultimately change how we are experiencing our life, right?
Yeah.
We are more in charge, of our feelings and emotions than we might think. And we're certainly more in charge of creating our reality more than we think.
So speaking, Lacy, of being in charge, an important point highlighted in the film is that most people are thinking about what they don't want rather than what they do want. We are pretty conditioned in our culture to complain.
Oh, yeah.
Or to judge, right? Or to be fearful. And this keeps us in the thoughts and feelings that are focused on what we do not want, which keeps us thinking and feeling negatively. And so we often keep seeing and experiencing what we don't want. But if we can spend more time focusing on the things we do want, if we can focus on the good and how we want to feel, positive, joyful, empowered, and free, then we are more likely to experience these things.
Yes, and that, that is the essence of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
This is all true, and I really can attest to firsthand knowledge about how this works and the truth of it. I mean, both of us can.
Yes.
But I do want to just bring up one might call it a criticism of the film, and I've read about this criticism and I can see it as well, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But many people feel that this movie, The Secret, simplifies the law of attraction, and it leaves people with the impression that all they have to do is think about something and it's going to come to them. But I'm going to tell you something. Here is the secret of the secret. All that they describe in the film is true. However, what is not addressed is the existence of what I call our underlying vibration, right? Or our default vibration.
Yes.
That is actually operating outside of our awareness and is often impacting the current energy we believe we are putting out. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. It's something, I've been aware of in my own life. As an intuitive and somebody who can tune into people's energies, and I'm pretty tuned into the energies all around myself all the time. There's like this subtle form of energy that many of us are not aware that we're carrying. We're not aware of ourselves as energetic beings, Lacy.
Right.
And so when we don't know we're energetic beings, and we don't know that our thoughts are energy, and we certainly don't know that our feelings are energy, we might be saying, I want that new job, or I want that new car, or I want to have a better relationship. But in our default vibrations, in this vibration that's running inside us all the time, that we're not really consciously thinking about, it could be coming from a place of lack or struggle, or not ever being able in our life that we can remember up to this point, ever getting something that we really wanted. And those are things that just continue to it's a frequency that we're transmitting that we're not even aware that we're putting out into the universe.
Can I just jump in there? Because I think, the words default vibration to me, and it speaks to exactly what you're saying, but it's like one other way for people to understand it is, it's sort of energetic patterns of thinking and feeling that we carry from our childhood.
Yeah.
And that is vibrating. It's vibrating energy that is within us, but that we're not as in touch or conscious of.
Right.
So we can pay all the attention we want
Yes.
to our current thought process and our current emotional experience, and we can shift it at any given moment if we're training ourselves to do so, and that's all great.
Right.
But then when something doesn't happen, or something doesn't work, or we don't see what we're desiring, or what we're asking the universe for, or whatever it is, and we say, this doesn't work, right?
It's always going to take us back to our default energetic set point, which is what the pattern that we've really practiced for a much longer period of time.
Right.
Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
exactly. So I believe that it's really important to work with a coach or a therapist or a spouse or a friend to help identify the patterns of thinking and feeling that we may be vibrating from early childhood, because these issues and their related energy can be hijacking our attempts to stay positive and attract positive.
Exactly.
So I feel like in a way I don't know, sometimes when I listen to the podcast back, I feel like we talk really fast and we talk about a lot of complicated things.
Well, we're pretty excited about all the things that
but
we're
that's
talking
what I want to
about.
say
Yes.
is that I want our listeners to feel and know our passion about this, because this is not just an intellectual study for us. We live this every day.
Well, and the secret was a turning point for us.
Yes, it really was.
It was a point when we were pretty downtrodden, and when we were feeling like Michael Beckwith described so well. He's one of these speakers in the film. I think that's when we first learned about Michael Beckwith. But he talks about, if you're in a place in your life where you're in a situation or a circumstance of struggle or pain, or even as low as despair, when there's no way and no how, a way will be made. And I think that was when I heard that in the film, and I think it was specifically him, when he said that the film, and I heard the other speakers in the film illustrating this law of attraction, I felt like I could tie a knot and I could hang on in my life. And it was an anchor point of I couldn't see how. I had no idea about the how of how I was going to get out of the challenges we were in at the time. But I definitely could see they were believing, and they had experienced this transcendent moment, this transformation, this shift into something else in their own lives when they needed a shift. And when you see enough stories of this through history, and you see enough characters in our in our heroes' journeys and in all the, mythologies of the world and just famous people that we've heard about through the centuries, and their stories are still being told. It's because they tuned into truths, universal laws like the law of attraction, and began to put it into practice. So that's the key, is that we could have listened to this. We could have seen The Secret in back in whatever it was, 2006-ish time frame. And we could have said that stuff just doesn't work, or it's not going to work for me. Right? And we could have found a way to just, criticize it or judge it and not work with it. But I think we were so seeking a different way, right, Lacy? We were asking for help to transcend what we were going through. And this is the help that arrived first.
Yeah.
It was the film, The Secret.
Well, and I think because we were in the state we were in, and help was not coming in other ways.
It wasn't.
We really had to be open, and our hearts had to be open, and our mind had to be open to alternative ways of perceiving, of asking for help, of looking for another way.
And I think we may have said this in some of the other podcasts, but as I'm saying now, that The Secret was a turning point for us. But when the conditioned world around us, when the traditional conventional solutions aren't solving the unique problem that you have, it becomes a moment. We've called it a catalyst before.
Yeah.
That's a catalyzer. When you can't get the answers you need from all the other places you used to go to, then you are being asked to see differently. You're being asked to look at your life from a different perspective, and you're being asked to open to something. And I think, I don't know if we're going to get into this in this conversation or not, Lacy, today, but it does lead us into the world of the metaphysical, the things that can't be explained by conventional thinking.
Yeah.
And so I definitely know. So I know we started really focusing on the default vibrations.
Yeah.
But and once you become aware that, I just want to reiterate that there are limits to what The Secret is talking about. If people say this stuff doesn't work, it's because there's other universal principles that we do have to, increase our awareness about. And it takes all of those principles working together to get into that state of joy and bliss and prosperity and goodness that so many of these speakers are talking about, that we have journeyed and experienced ourselves in our own lives. But there are those pesky default vibrations.
Yeah, and they're pesky.
They are pesky, and we spent a lot of years cultivating those. Right. And the conditioned world that we've lived in cultivates those. And then they become so automatic inside us that we're not even thinking that that's the energy we're putting out, because we've already accepted the condition of them. Right. And that's what really default vibrations, another word for that is really conditioned emotions and conditioned feelings and conditioned thoughts that we've been having. And so anybody listening to our podcast might say, well, I want to go check out that film, The Secret. And I want to experience that. And you try it out for a few weeks, and you try and manifest something or attract something to you. And maybe some small things that you can think of will come to you. But the big things you really want just seem to get further and further away, or they're just not coming. And you say, this stuff doesn't work. And it's because there's many other variables that we do have to increase our awareness about.
Well, it's really, you say many other variables, but really it's all energy, remember. So
right.
there's many other layers of energy that's impacting, our ability to pull into our experience what we want.
Well, just as much as we can have a really positive thought, we can say, oh, it's so good, I just paid in a positive thought. But our default vibrations might just, unbeknownst to us, be paying in 10 negative thoughts.
Exactly.
To that one positive one. And that's part of what goes on behind the scenes that people can't see, because it is hard to see energy sometimes.
Right.
And so just being aware through our conversations in films like The Secret, that there are these default vibrations, that is something else we have to become aware of. What are we putting out at a more unconscious level?
Yes.
While we're also putting out this much more conscious intention.
Yes.
And let's see, what is that manifesting in our life?
Right.
Right.
And, next month, I believe we're going to be talking about visualization
Yes.
and manifestation. So we will continue this conversation about the law of attraction and about energy at a deeper level, because
Yes.
we're really going to get at really how do you manage your emotional state, and how do you work with it to shift it into a more positive energy that's going to pull into your life what you want. So we'll talk about that, and there's a little bit of a formula for that we'll talk about next time.
Definitely.
So Marie, if we were to talk about some of the greatest or biggest takeaways from this particular film,
Yes.
I would say, I would say for me, I would say that there's an invisible force that organizes all things. I mean, that's a huge piece right there, called the universe.
Yes. And I would say that we are energetic beings whose thoughts and feelings are emitting a magnetic frequency that is pulling to us that which is like itself.
And that's a great, that's a one-sentence summary of the law of attraction, and it has so much power in it. I would also say that, we've got to pay attention to where we are giving our attention, where we're putting our attention. And we've got to give more attention to the positive thoughts and the feelings in our life. And, a lot of people talk about an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's something I would just insert here, that being grateful and appreciative for even the smallest of things in our life can raise your vibration, can uplift your spirit. And I try to make it a practice every night when I go to bed, and every morning when I get up, if I can, to really visualize one or two things that I'm so profoundly grateful for, and I get into the feeling of that, and it's just so helpful.
Yeah. It becomes a practice and a habit that we
Yeah.
consciously choose and intend to
Always.
do.
Yeah.
Yes. And I would say that your feelings move you from a state of fantasy and dreaming and imagining into fact and full manifestation.
Right.
Right? We move from the dream state into a new reality.
And we'll talk a lot more probably next month about
Yes.
that concept of the dream state and using our imagination
Yes.
to, that creative visualization.
Right.
We'll get more into that.
To create new experiences
Right.
in our lives. Yes.
Right. I would also, when I'm thinking about the greatest takeaways, I would say the mind can't tell the difference between fantasy and fact, kind of building on what you just said.
Yeah.
So focusing your desires from a place of positive emotion amplifies the magnetics and pulls into your experiences that which you are focused and consciously desiring. So again, we're sort of restating these things, but
Yeah,
I don't think you can restate them enough, frankly.
No, I don't think you can state them enough. And there's a lot of, life on Earth is challenging.
Yeah.
And so the more people can be listening to people speaking positively, talking about these universal principles and growing their awareness about these things, I think repetition can help a lot, especially if you're in a lower place.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would say it's critical that we think about what we are thinking and what we are actually wishing for. And it's really important to feel good and to notice when we are thinking about things we don't want, so we can shift into a better feeling and thinking place inside ourselves. I won't say that, even though I've been on this journey for many years now, and I've been aware of these principles at the very least since 2006. And so it's been quite a journey. I can't say that my life every single day is perfect, right? I can make an affirmation, I can focus on that. But there are default vibrations. There are lots of other universal laws at work. And remember, we're here to learn. We're here to expand who we are. That's the purpose of our journeys on this planet, is to grow our understandings of the more and the light and the amazing, extraordinary nature that we are. And so, but our lives aren't always reflecting that to us 24 hours a day. And so we really do need to think about that it is important to feel good, and we do need to think about what we're thinking about. And if we notice that we're not in a good feeling place, I can even say myself, there's been a big full moon going on. Cosmically, there's been a lot of influences. My school-age kids, there's transitions in school and transitions in work and all kinds of things going on. And those things they might be called a stress or a stressor or a trigger. Or just something that might pull me out of that joyful, blissful, balanced, peaceful, zen, wonderful, prosperous state. But if I can be aware and I can notice, and I can say just for myself, even in this last week, I've been witnessing how I've been talking. And so, I get to see that isn't completely who you are. I'm not, just because I've gotten a little lower, I'm not getting quite the sleep I need to get. There's all these factors that we live in our lives.
Sure.
So we don't have to strive for perfection and think that we have to live up to some, some ideal that isn't achievable. What we do want to be moving into is a greater awareness.
Yes.
And I think we had those conversations a little earlier on about that self-awareness. So I'm just disclosing here in this podcast that I've been aware that my thoughts are not, this past week, just haven't been able to, hit that joy frequency as much as I would like it to, but I'm aware of that. So I can make different choices this next minute, this next hour. Tomorrow is a new day. And since I'm aware of it, that has become a new habit. Self-awareness is a new vibrational and life habit that I have. And so if I notice that I've had a couple of days together, that just I'm not showing up in my own self the way I want to be, thinking these really positive thoughts, I can just notice and give myself a little room to say, you're going through some shifts. You haven't been getting the sleep you need. How have you been eating? How have you been taking care of yourself? And I can just notice the thoughts and I can pay attention, and then I can choose a better feeling thought. And I can move into that willingness to feel better and to choose something that I do enjoy, and I can let myself have that experience, but it takes that awareness.
Marie, one of the things that just really strikes me as you're talking, and this is part psychologist, part coach talking.
Yeah.
It's just everything you just said is about accepting responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a million people you could blame for not, for how you feel, right?
Yes.
For not getting sleep, you could blame the cat or the dog or the kid or the full moon or whatever, or whatever's going on in your life. It's so easy to blame other people.
Yes.
But gosh, isn't it amazing when we can take responsibility, when we can have that level of self-awareness that we always know it's about us and we can change in the moment if we choose.
Yes.
But we can only change in the moment if we choose, if we're aware.
Yes.
And so I just think there's it's so empowering. The law of attraction and all that we're talking about is just so empowering.
It is.
Because you really take your life back in such a beautiful way. So I just love how you articulated all that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
there were, throughout the film, there's some real, I think there's some wonderful, there's tremendous amount of wisdom, right?
Definitely.
Throughout the film. There are a number of kind of key quotes. I think we've read some of them earlier, but I think there were a few more that we'd like to highlight. I know Michael Beckwith was one of them. Maybe I'll start with that. But
okay.
He says, you can start with nothing, and out of nothing, and no way, and lots of impossibility all around you, a way will be made.
That is absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah, because you and I have experienced that.
That's exactly right.
Many times.
And I needed to hear that, and I would imagine that some listeners to this podcast are needing to hear that too. Right now in your life, this might be that moment that you just need to hear somebody say that again. So I think that I just want to reread that again.
Okay.
You can start with nothing, and out of nothing, and no way, and lots of impossibility all around you, a way will be made. And I have seen it time and time and time again.
Well,
in my life.
and really,
and in the lives of other people too.
And what underlies that is faith, and the belief in something greater than ourselves, in this pure positive all-knowing force that organizes the universe.
Yeah.
And remember, force implies kind of electricity or magnetism. I mean, I'm not a
quantum physicist.
but I would say that if we believe there's an all-organizing force out there, and we believe we are energetic beings, and we are interacting with that invisible force all the time, and I really believe that, and I have faith that a way can always be made. And
and that's when people talk about miracles.
Yes.
And that's when people talk about life as being magical.
Right.
And to some people, they might be listening to this podcast and saying, yes, I've totally experienced life's magic. I've totally experienced life's miracles. And you'll have some people listening to this podcast and saying, I just haven't seen it.
Right.
That has not been my experience.
Right.
I don't know where the miracles and magic are. They must be for somebody else. And someone like a Michael Beckwith or Bob Proctor or the different speakers in this film, and certainly Lacy and I, would say miracles and magic are meant for everybody.
That's right.
And so it helps to have these affirmations, these quotes, these people who are speaking this way, where you could just get these little sound bites,
these nuggets of wisdom,
that can shoot up your joy meter inside, that you can believe that something better than what you're experiencing is possible today.
Amen.
Right?
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yep.
I was going to share another one that I liked, which is Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote in the film, that faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Right? And you were just talking, Lacy, about faith.
Yeah.
At a certain level, there comes a point when you're just willing to try something else because what you've been doing isn't working. And to me, for many of us, whether you have a religious background and where faith is part of your language or not, but we can all understand taking a new step, taking the next step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. That's the stones in the fog.
I was going to say that's
right.
That's
That's
the
what
metaphor.
our website. That's on our website. Is the image for Whole Soul School and Foundation, is taking those next steps in faith, even when you can't see the whole picture or what's next.
Right.
You just have to know. You just have to take that next right step.
Yeah, and I think how this ties into the law of attraction too is the energy that comes with belief, right?
Yes.
The energy that comes with faith.
Yes.
When you immerse yourself in the energy of belief, and you immerse yourself in the energy of faith, and that anything is possible, a way has to be made, to use his words. So I love that. So the last one I'd like to say is, whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve. And that's a big one. I Napoleon Hill, there's been so many authors through the centuries that have known this stuff.
Yes.
Right? They have known that whatever we can imagine, if we can conceive it, then it can be true, real in our experience. And that is.
But it first starts at what I think they're really talking about in The Secret and the Law of Attraction, these universal principles, is it starts at the level of energy. Everything that we see in our lives today, every invention, every creation, every system, it started with a thought. And someone had the thought, someone had the idea or the inspiration to create a coat hanger.
Right.
When they just were tired of their jacket laying around, right? Their little log cabin or whatever. I don't know who developed who invented the coat hanger.
Right.
But, somebody, took that idea and manifested it into form, and now we all use that every day in our lives. Right. And everything that we see around us was a thought and an energy before it came into form.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And it is really powerful. And so if you can become aware that your thoughts and your energy and your frequency and your vibration has been creating the life you've been living up to this point, and it's continuing to create your life in every breath, in every moment going forward, then, for at least for me, I hit a point in my life that I was ready to live more of life's goodness, and I was ready to release the struggle and the challenge and the pain that I was in. And you just get better and better at it. It just becomes more of a vibrational, energetic habit once you realize that you can reset yourself.
Yes.
You can reset your energy. You can reset what you're focusing on. And that is a choice that's in front of us every single day. And it's an option and an opportunity for all of us. It's not just for these spiritual speakers and teachers and, masters or whatever. It's really for all of us. And I think, just imagine if everybody in the world made it their morning intention to have a better day. Mm-hmm.
To be a better person.
To be a better person, to think a better thought, to tune into something that is working, to something that is positive, to something that does feel good. And of course, in everybody's day, there's plenty to look around in the world the way that it is right now and see things that aren't working. But if you spend all your time every day thinking about what's not working, then that's the life you're going to be living, things that don't work.
Yes.
And if you want a better feeling life and you want more of the magic and those miracles, you do, becoming aware of the law of attraction as one law among many laws, right? And realizing that we are energetic beings and taking those next steps. It's life-changing.
It is absolutely life-changing. And I think, just to bring this full circle, I think this movie, The Secret, was a real turning point for you and I. It came into our life at a deep crisis point, and it showed us another way. And
how did The Secret get created? Rhonda Byrne had her own dark night of the soul, had her own rock bottom moment, and it was her intention that she was going to share this information to help somebody else.
Yes.
And I don't think we talked about this today, but that's the point in the hero's journey when somebody comes around the arc of that curve to the great return.
Yes.
They return and share the knowledge that helped them so they can help another person.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Out of their darkness came a light, and that light helped them through their journey. And now she's passing the light on to us in the way she knew how to do it. And, it activated us.
Right.
Right?
And
it
now
helped us. And now we, through Whole Soul School and Foundation, are in the process of our return. And
making this information and sharing this information with those who find their way to us, the people who are asking the questions of themselves and the universe are hopefully finding their way to us.
And seeking a new path or a different way.
Well, I have to say, I of course am very partial to this topic of energy and the law of attraction, and I have loved the month of May in which we've been talking about this.
Me too.
This is our second podcast, our second Fireside Chat about energy, and of course, I had a great time talking with John Millicitz about energy a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really excited to carry it on into June when we're going to talk about creative visualization, which is directly tied to energy, managing our energy, and consciously creating and manifesting into form what it is we desire.
Exactly. I'm excited too.
Yeah.
I'm excited too. So I want to say thank you to all of our listeners, and we welcome you to visit our website at www.wholesoulschoolandfoundation.org. Come on over to Facebook and tune in to we post twice a week these inspirational reminders that are just these little nuggets of wisdom, usually related to the film and the topic. And we have our mystic poet, Flower Diamond, who we adore. And she's so talented, and she really captures in her poetry the essence of what we're talking about. And so, come over to Facebook if you just need a little upliftment. Come listen to our other podcasts. They're here in the archives. And so if you missed something that we said, or you hear us talking about something that you don't understand, you can definitely go back to some other concepts that we were talking about earlier this year. It's going to be there for a long time. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, Whole Soul School and Foundation, and subscribe to receive our newsletter and notifications on our website. Of course, we will always humbly ask that if any of our listeners are so moved, we would love to receive your donations, and you can do that through our website. And am I missing anything else, Lacy? Just coming up in June, we are focusing on visioning and manifestation. That'll be the next topic we're moving into.
Yep, and I'm really excited. We're going to have another special guest for Transformation Talks, Kevin Foster.
Yes.
And I'm not going to give anything away at the moment, but I
Yeah.
will say that should be a great, great interview.
Yes. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun. It gets a lot more fun once you take this turn in the pivot of the law of attraction
Yes.
into these other universal laws. We go from the heavy, dense armor and the conditioned selves and all that arduous work,
Of
right?
being a human.
Of being a human. And we start rising into something much lighter, into so much more possibility.
Yes.
And it gets so much more enjoyable.
So much more enjoyable and quite magical, frankly.
Yes, I think so too. So thank you, everybody, for joining us on this conversation today. And share it with friends and family and share it on your social media networks. And we'll see you again in June. And, visit us on the web. Like I said, if you subscribe to subscribe to us on our website, you'll also receive the newsletter that also forecasts some of these fun things. So thanks again, and blessings to everyone, and, more joy to you in the journey.
Amen.
Okay. See you next time.